Theobromine, theophylline, and caffeine are the three main psychoactive stimulants consumed by Americans on a daily basis. About 90% of Americans consume at least one of these three chemicals each day, many of which consuming well over 300 milligrams without being aware. The six main types of plants containing these chemicals are coffee, tea, guarana, mate, cocoa, and the kola nut. These stimulants are mainly consumed through drinking the part of the plant consisting these xanthine alkaloids. However, they also can be consumed in the form of food and pill, depending upon use. Typically, the consumption of these plants are used to essentially give someone energy that they feel they are lacking. In order to do so, these drugs stimulate the nerve endings throughout the body, which helps to increase the functioning of the brain. This also helps by increasing the body's capability to function, especially under circumstances of fatigue. Typically, one's heart rate will increase, which will also help increase metabolism as well as the respiratory rate. All of these result together in the feeling of a greater amount of energy, allowing one to accomplish more of their daily tasks and activities. The plant that is consumed the most in order to achieve this feeling of energy is the coffee plant, or coffea. This plant is native to tropical Africa and Asia, as well as southern Africa. Coffee grows as a shrub or a small tree, which typically grows to be 3 to 3.5 meters tall, preferably at higher altitudes. Due to the fact that coffee is a flowering plant, we can find the source of caffeine in a coffee bean, which is located inside of the epigynous berries, which grow on the plant's branches. Coffee is most commonly known for its production in Colombia, but is also produced in countries like Kenya, Brazil, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and even in Hawaii. This production of coffee is distributed worldwide and typically contains about 150 milligrams of caffeine per 8 fluid ounce serving, but can vary depending upon type of coffee. The second most consumed energy-bearing plant is tea, or Camellia sinensis. Camellia sinensis is an evergreen plant that is commonly found in tropical and subtropical climates. Tea is commonly produced in China, India, Japan, and Taiwan. Like coffee, tea is distributed around the world. Tea, however, does not contain as much caffeine as coffee. Black tea typically contains 60 milligrams per 8 fluid ounce. Green tea typically contains 30 milligrams per 8 fluid ounce, and white tea is the lowest at 20 milligrams per 8 fluid ounce. Another plant-bearing energy is Paullinia cupana, most commonly known as guarana. Guarana is a climbing plant that can be found in the same family as maples. Guarana contains large leaves as well as clusters of flowers. The fruit on this plant is about the same size as a coffee bean. This vine is found in Venezuela and northern Brazil. Although this drug was originally used in the medical field as an antidote for fevers, migraine, and diarrhea treatment, as well as a stimulant, it is most commonly distributed today worldwide in the form of an energy drink. Guarana also has up to 4 times the amount of caffeine as coffee, which can have levels ranging from 2 to 7.5%. Guarana seeds also contain small traces of theobromine and theophylline. Yerba mate is another commonly known stimulating beverage. The early plant begins its growth as a small shrub, but eventually grows to be a tree that can reach 15 meters in height. The plant contains evergreen leaves as well as small, light green flowers that contain 4 petals. This tree develops small fruits known as red drupes. Yerba mate is typically grown and consumed in South America, but can also be distributed and enjoyed around the world. The caffeine content is roughly 85 milligrams per 8 fluid ounce and also contains small traces of theobromine as well as theophylline. Theobroma cocoa, or just cocoa, is another stimulant enjoyed worldwide. This plant is a small evergreen tree that grows to be only about 6 to 8 meters in height. The tree also contains a variety of white to red flowers and pods that can vary in color. These pods can contain up to 60 beans each. The cocoa plant grows in Central America and has been distributed worldwide. People enjoy the fruits of this plant in the form of chocolates. This can range from both beverage to food form. This plant contains mostly theobromine as its energy-giving chemical, but also provides small percentages of caffeine. The final plant is Cola acuminata, or the cola nut. Cola nut comes from 3 different species, such as Cola animala, Cola natita, and Cola verticillata. These are all different tree species which contain the same cocoa. These trees are most commonly found in West Africa, but can also be found in America and Indonesia. These trees contain fruits in the form of nuts, which can be used to chew or flavor soft drinks. This can be distributed worldwide, and its caffeine content ranges from 1 to 2.5%. This plant also can contain small traces of theobromine. When caffeine, theobromine, and theophylline are consumed in large quantities, they often can become addictive. When these chemicals are no longer consumed in large quantities, withdrawal symptoms can occur. Some of these symptoms include headaches, fatigue, depression, and irritability. In order to avoid this from happening, experts suggest limiting caffeine intake to 200 milligrams per day. Another risk factor that can be controlled by limiting the caffeine intake is overdosing. It has been proven to be possible to overdose on caffeine. Some side effects of possibly drinking an excess amount of caffeine include but are not limited to nervousness, stomachache, vomiting, and insomnia. Another factor to avoid is consuming caffeine when pregnant. This can lead to birth defects. Although products containing caffeine, theobromine, and theophylline make us feel alert, they should be taken in moderation.